Itamar. I'm the founder of Argent. We're a mobile wallet focusing on Ethereum. Some of you might know our product, but today, instead of doing the usual demo, I will try to take a step back, tell you a bit what we've been working on and how these dots connect to hopefully bring more people into DeFi. I mentioned 1 billion. I should have maybe started a bit lower, but thanks for having me. Thanks, David. So you won't see me, unfortunately. I hope you don't mind, and I will share slides instead. I think it's more interesting. So first, to recap, why Argent exists. Now our goal is to empower everyone to control and prosper from their digital assets and identity. And I think a few important words here are everyone. So we are really focusing on getting more people into the space, more people being able to interact with the space without having strong technical knowledge or OPSEC, and also the control. So you will see that being non-custodial is a key part of what we are doing. When we started working in Argent, we defined very early on a few core requirements, core assumptions that we had to follow. One of them was what's the choice of infrastructure? What platform would we use? At the time, it was clear we needed a programmatic blockchain. So Ethereum was obviously at the time one of the best choice. But we thought also about the fact that we would want users everywhere across the world to trust the same infrastructure, to have only one global, open and transparent infrastructure. And I think the level of decentralization is not just philosophical, but it's about whether we believe users would trust that platform. For example, if a government was to build a fantastic blockchain with a high level of scalability, everything your dream requirement, we feel it's unlikely that people across the world would trust and want to interact on that same platform. And that's how we got started really on Ethereum. Another requirement for us was that it had to be mobile. When we started a bit more than 2 years ago, all of crypto was really extremely desktop focused. You needed to be on a desktop with a web browser, and that's how you interacted with the space. For us, mobile was important, partly from our past experience. We had built businesses with 60 million users. We knew that mobile was really a great driver to reach scale. But also, if you take a step back, if the goal is to allow anyone, anywhere in the world to take their phone out of their pocket, download an app, and suddenly have access to a global financial infrastructure and have access to the same opportunities, mobile is the platform. Almost more than 80% of the, let's say, young adult population and adult population have a mobile phone, and increasingly most of these phones are becoming smartphones, and that's the way to reach everyone. And you also see it in many markets, clearly here in Europe, in London, where financial services are mobile for consumer. More bank account opening now in the UK happens on mobile through neobanks like Monzo, Revolut, etc. And that's their only interface, their only experience. Non-custodial was also a key requirement. While for many of us in the space, non-custodial is almost like a philosophy and a belief, we think there are genuine and real advantage, although it might be that users don't understand or don't care too much. We think it leads to real advantage for us as a company. I think non-custodial allows us to innovate and move much faster. When you're a company that sits on billions or trillions of assets that you need to secure in your backend infrastructure with some cold storage process, you become slow, you become like a bank. As a non-custodial, once you have defined a good, the right security model, you can, so in our case, for example, we use smart contracts. We can't move very fast. We need to be slow on the smart contracts. We need to make audits, etc. But once that is done, we can move very fast on other aspects. So for users, I think long-term, non-custodial will be a much more secure approach, and also will be better for privacy. I would say we are really on the early days where we have way more work to do on the privacy side, but I think non-custodial, it will be an enabler in the future. And basically, we think it's the only way to reach every human on the planet. You can't be one company onboarding 5 billion people. and getting them through some full-on process like an exchange would have to do. So several phases, some have been already executed and some we are still working on. And let's see how they connect together. For us, phase one was really provide a super safe, simple, and recoverable non-custodial wallet experience. That's probably the only thing we did for 18 months. And the first challenge for us was simply getting rid of that seed phrase. We couldn't believe that 1 billion people would back up a seed phrase on a piece of paper. It was an anachronism. When we entered the space, we were telling people for 10, 15 years, do not back up your password on a post-it. Do not write down your password there. And now we tell them, please write down your password there. And so even if you have a great wallet, even if you have a hardware wallet, I would say people that are not in this room, I would say everyone here has a probably very good OPSEC, but the other millions of people, they will basically have their hardware wallet, but then they will have their seed phrase on paper in their desk, and they'll lose the entire security provided by the device. So we needed a solution that could really be secure at scale. So we really, what we did basically is we provided a bit the mental model, the feature of a bank, but without the custody. So by putting the security at smart contract level, we could do things like recovering funds without seed phrase. So I won't go through a full demo, but Argent is a concept of guardians that enable recovery without having access to your funds. But also you have, I would say, fraud monitoring at the blockchain level, meaning you can literally block fraudulent transactions. You can freeze your accounts like you can do with your card if you have a good mobile banking app. You can set trusted contact. We also abstracted transaction fees. So for most use cases in Argent, you don't pay gas, you don't see gas. And we abstracted all this cryptic address through DNS. Some of you might have seen the demo. I just want to highlight what is possible with this model without going through everything. It's hard when you do it virtually, but here I'm literally Googling a random Ethereum QR code, tapping on one, and I have my wallet here on the right on mainnet. I'm scanning that QR code. It's real money, and I will send all my ETH to that address. And that's a large amount of money. And in a normal world, that's over. And this is my final screen. I'm going in. I'm sending these funds. What's happening here is that suddenly you have your smart contract that say, hey, that's a super large transfer, meaning above my daily limit. And you are sending it to an address you don't trust. Obviously, I've never sent any funds to that address. And that's quite similar to what your bank would do. If you make a very large transfer, it's very likely that they will call you. Here, it's happening on-chain in a fully trustless way. So that was really the start. I would say we had that at the beginning of last year. We started onboarding very few people through a waitlist very slowly, testing the model, improving the model, and battle testing the entire security model. We were at a stage, end of last year, pretty happy, but in some way pretty useless wallet. You could hold, send, receive. What's exciting about Ethereum and the space we're in is starting to connect people to the application layer. We started by showcasing what we could do really within Argent. Few use cases that were actually quite complex in using typical wallet or extensions, but that we could simplify them because your wallet was smart, your wallet could orchestrate. The best demo is that one, which is basically how we did the Maker CDP integration. So the CDP was a good example because at the time you needed 5 or 7 integration between ERC20 approve, wrap your ETH, get PET, submit the transaction, and we showed that we could make this entire process shorter than 10 seconds, basically. And it's really a few taps on the screen, and it's important it's only one atomic transaction for the user. Why? Because the user can ask its wallet, please submit the transaction for me, open the CDP for me, and the wallet will orchestrate. And then when you were closing the CDP, for example, we could do things like selling your ETH in MKR or DAI if you didn't have DAI to repay your debts, etc. So we started with that. We did the DSR, we did Compound. That's really where things started to get exciting. So phase 2 for us, it's really do much more of that and basically bring a lot or all of DeFi ultimately a tap from at your fingertip in Argent. That's something that will come very, very soon. So we're super excited. It's 10 days from now on both iOS and Android. And it's literally this ability to interact with this protocol in a super, super simple way. What you will see is a full native experience. It's a one-tap invest and withdraw experience. And again, little things, but for example, what we started doing last year is in Argent, you never do an infinite approve on some ERC20. We have abstracted that. If there is an approve, for example, through Wallet Connect, you will approve the exact amount. And in the case of this native integration, the approve is bundled with the actual call for exactly the amount. So from a security perspective, it's much simpler, but also much more secure. And we started doing that last summer with Compound, then Maker, and the DSR. Another point is there won't be any need for new smart contracts module for most of this integration. So that means we can move with dapps protocol very quickly. And then we'll also, in the next phase, have performance tracking, full P&L tracking coming within Argent. So super excited about that. And also a big part of that is that we'll be removing the waitlist very, very soon for those who were still waiting for that. So we're at the stage where we have that super simple wallet. We have access to all these dapps. And I think the big thing that changed is that before non-custodial meant you're on your own. You made a mistake and too bad, you lost your funds. You had no safety net. It's your fault, it's not ours. And we really try to build this safety net so that users get that confidence while still having a non-custodial product. So the problem with that is if we do amazingly our job, we need to hope that 1 billion people suddenly download Argent. Everyone is exactly the same app, the same product, and everybody has the same needs. Realistically, that's not the future we believe in. People have different needs. It's not one size fits all, where our app will be like the bulletproof, perfect use case for everyone. And a simple, you don't need to go very far. You can think about payment and the merchants with their point of sale devices. Argent is not a great experience for a merchant to sell coffee and to accept crypto. They need a proper point of sale device, and I'm not sure we are the best company for that. And so that's phase 3. It's how do we bring the Argent benefits and infrastructure to all users, but to all dApp developers. So it shouldn't be just Argent being able to give that to users. Other people should be able to build their own product and give the same benefits to their users. So a bit later this year, we'll be starting launching elements of the Argent developer platform. And what does it mean for, I hope, a lot of dApp developer here in this conference? You will be able to create an Argent wallet on the fly. That means no Argent app download. So right now we have Wallet Connect. You can interact with Argent, but realistically to onboard users, it's not a great experience. So we'll bring web SDKs first, then native SDKs will come too. And it's real Web 2 onboarding for users, meaning they won't have to back up a seed phrase. Although we use smart contracts with Create2, they will have instant account creation. Basically, they won't have to wait for a transaction to be mined. As a dApp, you will have access to a relayer infrastructure. That means you can suddenly have gas abstraction, meaning either subsidize the gas for users, or provide the ability to pay their gas, for example, in DAI, if you're a product where user only needs DAI. And it will still be fully interoperable with the Argent app. So as a user, if you still want at some point maybe to use all of DeFi to Argent, you can download Argent and use that same wallet. So that's coming a bit later this year. We'll be starting to test very soon with some dApps, and then gradually open that to more people. So phase 4, I think now a lot of what I discussed is either there or happening very, very soon. We know that's not enough. Realistically, at a few 100,000 or million users using DeFi every day, congestion would be too high. We know, especially in payment, if you start doing day-to-day payment, where an average person might be doing 5 to 10 payments a day, would definitely have a problem. So we are researching layer 2, obviously working with the amazing ecosystem around layer 2, talking to all the different projects. It's not something that we will build from scratch. One element there where we are quite interested is we believe layer 2 might be the good starting point to bring payment privacy. And by payment privacy, I mean really the flow of money. We think that's a priority where people need privacy. We are obviously exploring the layer 1. We have done some open source projects on layer 1 privacy, but we are quite curious and intrigued about the possibility of starting with privacy on layer 2. And we've seen some very interesting project going towards that direction. The conclusion for us is that we will not bring 1 billion users to DeFi alone. What I present here is really a set of features, of tools, a platform, so that we have the security and usability infrastructure for users, so that dapp developer can focus on building great dapps. At the end, we are at a stage, as I often say, where my mom and my dad, they can use Argent. Is almost as easy as Revolut. We have a few things to improve, but really we're at a place where they can send money, receive money within Argent very easily. They don't need it yet. There's not yet a clear use case for them. And so we have built an infrastructure so that dapps can really be solely focused on building the right use case so that we can onboard that billion people. So unfortunately, I can't see the stream with all the chat. So if you have questions, we are around argent.xyz, on Twitter, ArgentHQ. You can scan this QR code if you want access to Argent before our official launch. And through our website, you can also find our Discord if you want to chat and go in more details around dapp integration, etc. Discord is probably the right place.